Imagine this. You've been scrolling through Instagram, saving beach photos, mountain retreats, and that one European cafe where the cappuccino foam looks like a work of art. You've booked your flights, packed your suitcase, maybe even bought one of those overpriced neck pillows that make you look like a confused giraffe at the airport. You're ready. You can already smell the adventure. But here's the twist: you finally land, walk up to border control, and instead of a smile and a passport stamp, you get the international equivalent of, "Yeah, about that. We'd rather you didn't." Sounds like a bad travel comedy, right? But nope, this is reality. Because believe it or not, there are countries on this planet where being American is not exactly a golden ticket. In fact, in some places, it's more of a red flag than a welcome mat. Why? Politics. History. Overtourism. Sometimes even just the sheer chaos of too many tourists asking for ranch dressing in countries that don't believe in it. Whatever the reason, the result is the same. Americans are being told, directly or indirectly, "Thanks, but maybe go somewhere else." And that's what we're breaking down today. The 5 countries that don't really want Americans anymore. Some will make perfect sense, but others? They'll probably surprise you. And listen, stick around for number 5, because that one is going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about travel. By the way, if you love these kinds of surprising travel truths, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. 1. North Korea. Alright, let's start with the most obvious one, North Korea. Now, if countries were a menu, this would be the dish everyone knows exists, but no one's brave enough to order. Americans in North Korea? That's like pineapple on pizza, technically possible, but wildly controversial. Since 2017, the US government has basically waved a giant red flag and said, "Please, for the love of Netflix, don't go." And it's not just a casual suggestion, it's an actual ban. Why? Well, between safety risks, detainment issues, and a political climate colder than a freezer full of popsicles, North Korea doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. Imagine it. You're standing in Pyongyang, trying to explain to a stern government official why your TikTok has 30,000 views of you dancing to Taylor Swift. Spoiler alert, that's not the vibe. This isn't a place for backpackers looking for cheap street food or honeymooners trying to get artsy sunset pics. It's more like a real-life game of don't say the wrong thing, don't do the wrong thing, and definitely don't look like you're having too much fun. And the truth is, North Korea doesn't want the headache, and honestly, neither does the US government. So, if you had this on your bucket list, maybe cross it off and replace it with, I don't know, literally anywhere else. But North Korea isn't the only one shutting the door. Because while this one was predictable, the next country might surprise you. It looks inviting, it feels exotic, and you probably imagine sipping mojitos by the ocean. But for Americans, the reality is a lot trickier. Let's talk about Cuba. 2. Cuba. Next stop, Cuba. Cuba, the land of vintage cars that look like they just rolled out of a time machine, salsa music pouring out of every corner, and beaches so picture-perfect they look like Windows screensavers from the early 2000s. It's paradise on the brochure. But here's the plot twist. For Americans, getting into Cuba is like trying to sneak into a VIP club when the bouncer clearly knows you're not on the list. US-Cuba relations? They're less like a steady romance and more like a soap opera, on again, off again, lots of drama, and nobody's quite sure where it's heading next. Since the 1960s, restrictions have been baked into the system. And while things briefly thawed during the Obama years, the rules tightened right back up. For Americans, that means limited flights, special categories for travel, and a whole bunch of paperwork that feels less like planning a vacation and more like filing your taxes. Now, don't get me wrong, the Cuban people themselves? Warm, welcoming, often eager to share their culture, their music, their food. But the government? Not exactly rolling out the red carpet. For US tourists, it's complicated, it's political, and it means your dreamy, mojito-fueled getaway probably won't be as breezy as the travel influencers make it look. Imagine this. You're sitting under a palm tree, sipping that perfect daiquiri, when you suddenly remember you can't actually use your US credit card here. Cash only. And forget about bringing back a suitcase stuffed with Cuban cigars. Customs will shut that down fast. The trip quickly becomes less about relaxation and more about navigating a rulebook. So while Cuba's beauty is undeniable for Americans, it's a bit like dating someone your family doesn't approve of. You can do it, but it's gonna come with baggage. And if Cuba feels complicated, just wait until you see what happens in this next country. Because while it looks like a laid-back paradise where sheep outnumber people, Americans trying to settle down there are running into a whole different kind of problem. Let's talk about New Zealand. 3. New Zealand. Yep, New Zealand. Surprised? Don't be. This stunning, Middle-earth-looking paradise has been every traveler's dream escape. Snow-capped mountains, rolling green hills, crystal-clear lakes. You half expect Gandalf to just walk by while you're eating your sandwich. For years, Americans saw New Zealand as the ultimate fresh start, clean, safe, peaceful, and yes, with way more sheep than people. But here's the thing, after the pandemic, the vibes started to shift. Immigration rules tightened, housing prices went through the roof, and suddenly, Americans weren't seen as adventurous wanderers or harmless backpackers. Instead, they were often seen as outsiders driving up property costs and buying up land like monopoly pieces. Imagine Frodo looking you dead in the eye and saying, "One does not simply move to New Zealand." That's the energy right now. Now, don't get me wrong, tourists are still welcome. You can still hike the Milford Track, pose on Hobbiton's little round doorsteps, and kayak through glowworm caves without a problem. But try planting deeper roots? Let's just say the welcome mat is slowly being rolled up, tucked away, and maybe locked in the closet. It's not that Kiwis hate Americans, it's that they're protective of what they have. Small population, fragile environment, limited housing. Add in a surge of foreign interest, and the balance tips fast. What was once a postcard-perfect paradise starts feeling overcrowded to the locals who actually live there. So yes, visit. Yes, enjoy. But if you were dreaming about selling everything and starting a new life in New Zealand, that dream is looking more like a fantasy novel these days. And speaking of countries where locals are a little tired of the tourist overload, let's head to a place that Americans love to visit, sometimes a little too much. A country of pizza, pasta, and ancient ruins that's now sending some serious, we need a break vibes. Let's talk about Italy. 4. Italy. Italy. Pizza. Pasta. Gelato. La dolce vita. It's the good life, at least, until you realize half the world had the same idea. Americans have been flooding Italian hotspots like Venice, Florence, and Rome so much that locals sometimes feel like they're living on a giant cruise ship that never docks. Overtourism has gotten so intense that Venice actually started charging entry fees just to step foot in the city, basically turning it into Disneyland, minus Mickey Mouse and with a lot more gondolas. And while Italians are famously warm and proud of their culture, there's only so many selfie sticks poking into the Colosseum or tourists asking, "Scusi, where's the nearest Starbucks?" before patience runs out. Spoiler, it's not around the corner. You're in Italy, grab an espresso like a local. So yes, Italy still loves visitors, but the message is clear: respect the culture, don't overcrowd the piazzas, and maybe keep the frappuccinos at home. Number 5 is going to surprise you, and while we're at it, if you're still watching, you're clearly a real one. Smash that like button, it helps this channel reach more travelers like you. If you think Italians are just a little strict, wait until you hear about a country that's gone full-on nope mode. A place that looks futuristic on the outside, but comes with some of the toughest cultural rules for Americans on the inside. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. 5. Saudi Arabia. Here's one you might not expect. Saudi Arabia. In the last few years, the kingdom has been trying hard to rebrand itself as a modern tourist destination, fancy resorts on the Red Sea, futuristic mega projects like NEM, and even concerts that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. On paper, it looks like the next big travel hotspot. But for Americans, visiting isn't as simple as booking a flight and packing a fanny pack. The reality is a maze of restrictions, strict cultural rules, and, let's be honest, some heavy political baggage. This is not the kind of place where you can just stroll in with a baseball cap and a loud Hawaiian shirt asking, "So, where's the nearest bar?" Spoiler, alcohol is banned, so that's not the question you want to ask. Yes, things are changing quickly, but the changes come with fine print. You'll need to navigate rules about clothing, behavior, photography, and even who you can interact with. For many Americans, that makes visiting Saudi Arabia feel less like a carefree vacation and more like studying for an exam you're not sure you'll pass. So while the country is opening its doors, those doors still come with locks, rules, and cultural guardrails that make it more of a challenge than a holiday. And that wraps up our list: 5 countries where being American doesn't exactly get you the VIP pass you might expect. So there you have it. 5 countries that basically told Americans, thanks, but no thanks. Now here's the question. If you couldn't visit any of these, which country would be your backup dream destination? Drop it in the comments. I want to see where you'd go instead. And hey, if you enjoyed this ride through international rejection letters, hit that like button, subscribe for more travel truths, and check out my other video on the worst states to live in 2025. Trust me, you'll want to know before you pack your bags.